Okay, wow. This is an exciting episode we got for you guys. Firstly, let's deal with the elephant in the room. We have some equipment here on Shmoozing with Avi. This is a real podcast now. We've done well. For all of our audio listeners who can't see what we have here, we have a big red mic, courtesy of my lovely family, a lovely birthday gift. And so I thought to myself, what would be a great way to premiere this brand new big red mic? So I thought, who could I get on? I like a singer, Mike singer. Kind of, it works together, that was good. So I thought, I want to get a singer on, but I want someone with koyach. I want someone, when you listen to their music, you feel it. It's the passion in their music. I thought, who do I know like that? So I thought, I'm going to give Eitan Freilich a call. So I gave Eitan Freilich a call. And noch, here we are, episode 8 of Shmoozing with Avi with Eitan Freilich. So this episode is special. Eitan goes in deep. It's a meaningful episode. You really get to know the man behind the music. And he's had the hardships in his life, but it's how he dealt with these hardships and the true emunah and betochen that he had. It's truly incredible. And he talks also about how like event management or in the event scene, how they dealt with Corona, and that was a big part of the conversation as well. But like I'm not going to give too many spoilers, but you really see into the life of Eitan Freilich and what a courageous and strong man he is, and his wife as well. Just truly incredible. Like they went through sorrows, and the way they dealt with it is inspiring. Like it really, like after I finished this episode, like I sat down and just like thought about like all that he went through, and I was like, I don't think I could have dealt with it the same way he did. So it truly is inspirational. So without further ado, I introduce you to Shmoozing with Avi, episode 8 with Eitan Freilich. Let's go. Hello. Wow, we are in for a real treat here. Well, firstly, obviously, my new mic. That's the big treat. But joining us here on the podcast is the one and only Eitan Freilich. One honor to have you on here. This is my. I know I've gone big time now. This is really exciting.
It's a momentous day for many reasons. You've got the green screen next to you.
I know.
So you're going up in the world, and now us British can actually visit you in America. I've been for a while.
Yeah, why? When was the last time you came?
The last time I was in America was during Corona, before lockdown. So I did a wedding.
February time?
February, yeah. So it was just, it was a big outbreak in Yeshiva University when I landed. So the cab driver was talking all about it. It was a big deal. And at the wedding as well, there was a couple of people who had Corona, but we didn't know at the time. So they were trying to trace back. I remember getting a phone call once I'd landed. It was a little bit chaotic, and then they locked down a couple of days after.
You tested positive, or?
No. I didn't. Wow. I isolated, but I didn't. I did get Corona, but that was December last year. There's pros and cons. There's pros and cons to everything. The simple market in America seemed to do absolutely fine, and that means that everyone had their job still. Here, it really affected everyone. So
I remember it was like also. It was in the space of like two, 3 days or something. They'll tell you, we're going back into lockdown. And everything would just get cancelled. Like, I don't know if you remember my cousin Yoni, like his wedding got moved. Like it was like they said on like the 21st or something, like we're going into lockdown, and their wedding was on the 22nd. So they literally had to move like everything like a whole day forward, and like it was terrible.
People were cramming in. They were doing weddings on Motzei Shabbos, literally just like, and that's not really so common. And they were literally just cramming it all in. But the most important thing is, if I'm honest, is that anyone who was vulnerable, anyone who needed to be, was safe. And what each country does is its own business, but everyone's just got to be responsible people ultimately. That actually plays an important part in what I did, but also the band do. Ultimately, whatever we do had to be legal, but very much responsible. Even at the time, there was no lockdown, but they were allowing weddings. It was a really hard moral choice for us that we had to make.
So what was the thought process there? How did you get around? What did you decide?
Honestly, a lot of clients at that point were putting in their own steps, even if it was just barriers between, say, because we're our own sort of person if we were on the stage, but often we'd go into the crowd or we'd mingle a little bit more, and if we backed off a little bit less at that time. But a lot of our clients, and I call them clients, but they do become friends, the couples, the families, they actually decided themselves to postpone or
Really?
cancel until another date. Yeah. So it's a really hard choice, and there's a hard line, and it's just each case is case by case. But each
Have
wedding.
you have you felt like the difference between like a pre-corona wedding and like a wedding now? Like
Not
just
anymore.
numbers why? Is it like is this
Last night, we actually said this a year ago. You wouldn't believe it. Last night, I did this wedding in Manchester. It was unbelievable. The atmosphere was insane. But I can tell you one thing: there was no, and I don't say it so proudly because I know, you know, there's an opinion both ways. But there was no social distancing. I mean that. It was crammed. It was crammed. In
it's
fact,
become
we
like
had
a
to
bit
get
of a
them.
joke in the Jewish community that like we don't really do social distancing anymore. Which in
Yeah, and I do take it seriously. So I'm sitting here making the jokes, but if I'm honest with you, in the Jewish community, you know, we can talk lightheartedly, but I think, I mean, and I don't want to get political, but there is definitely an element of we should be taking it more seriously. I can say that I never did one illegal wedding. Everything was legit, everything was legal, everything was kosher, and very, very much don't agree. I'll say it straight out. Anything illegal, completely do not condone. When I say illegal, I'm talking any more than 15, any more than 30, any more than was allowed. And I do think there's an element of responsibility we all need to take, and I mean that. Even if that means me testing regularly before each event to make sure that I'm 100% COVID free.
yeah, that's what you like. You tell your band to do the same, or that's just your personal preference?
Always do it, and we take a photo.
Yeah,
Always. Some people ask us to do it, some people don't, but I think we got to be responsible.
for sure, for sure. That's okay. Fine. Well, we've touched on Corona. That's that's always the fun topic of the
That's
podcast.
now going back two
That's the
years.
Shabbos table
Now
stuff.
we go back. Now we can go back 2 years ago. What happened 2 years? But literally, it's been like a massive gap
it
in the middle.
it really like, but it feels like it's become reality now. Like it's very hard to differentiate pre-corona and like post-corona now. Like I feel like we can sort of say we're in the post-corona era, hopefully, like because of this whatever we're I
I
feel
would say
like
like BC before Corona.
uh
Yeah.
very good, very good. All right, fine. So should we delve more into you? I think the listeners are here for Eitan Freilich. So let's go into, before we go into like the music itself. I want you to tell us a little bit just about yourself. Like, were you always like musically inclined? Because I know your is it your uncle Avrami Freilich? It's your uncle,
Yeah, a
yeah,
cousin.
cousin. So he's also it's like
Close cousin.
it's within the family, the musical genes, right?
Absolutely. So no, so he's my cousin. Before he was cousin in Norrisley. He is cousin in Norrisley, excellent cousin in Norrisley. But before he was there, a while before, my grandpa was there. So my grandpa was Reverend Freilich. He was cousin there for many years. He was in Western Marble Arch before that, actually with Rabbi Sachs, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs. He was there prior. So I guess music starts really, going back generations. There's a lot of chazonim in our family, and I don't know how much I was inspired by that, because I didn't really go into chazonis. That was something I moved away from.
That was
But
like
I
an
definitely
active choice that
appreciate.
you're moving away from it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur with full on chazonis every single year as a child. I'll be honest, it wasn't exactly something I looked forward to.
yeah,
But give it to me now, I'll be there any day. I appreciate it like a lot more, very much, sincerely now.
yeah,
Than I always used to.
yeah. No, it definitely has that impact on you. It really does. Like
Yeah.
singing really gets into your heart. Like it really like it
But
brings all the emotions.
Chazonis is an art. If you listen to Shulam Lema even now, and he's young, but he brings Chazonis, really to the forefront of popular. But if you listen to Chazonis, it's a true art, and it's something that can be very much appreciated, depending on how you look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I just always find with Chazonis, they'd always do their piece, and I don't want to put anyone off, honest, and I'm sure if you forgive me if you're a big lover of honest, but I'd always think as a child, with a child's view, I'd always like hear them do like a long service, let's call it, right? They do a long governing, yeah, and towards the end of like they get that's that long paragraph, and they finally get to the end, and then they just start again. You know what I mean? They go right back to the beginning, and they do it.
I was like, oh god.
Yeah. Oh, man. But now I appreciate it. I really understand it, and I drag on sometimes. So
yeah. So hold on. So when at what point in time did you know that music was something that you were going to get into?
It's a really good question. Everyone in my family says that I was always like that kid who loves Zemiris, loves singing. Every single Shabbos, I'd be on someone's lap, just like singing along with the adults. But I don't know why, and it must have been that I was musically inclined. But at my brother's bar mitzvah, I was 8 years old, and they sort of shoved me on stage. And I remember singing, and so they must have chosen me because I liked singing, but I couldn't sing. I was 8 years old and couldn't sing in tune. Not some people say I still can't, but at that point, I really couldn't sing in tune. Like not, I remember, but at least I was able to know that I wasn't singing in tune. I knew myself. I just wasn't able to get it right. And I remember soon after, I was in bed every night. I'd get myself to sleep listening to, at that point, it was like Jakob Schwecki or whatever had just come out. And that was his first album, had just come out. That's how old I am. And I'd sing myself to sleep. And I remember one night it just hit me. Like it just literally just changed in my head. Like music became real music, and I was able to sing relatively in tune. And so, for those who always say, are your kids going to be singers? Are your kids going to be singers? You don't really know. And I guess since then, I used to just sing at every simcha, every family simcha, every event I was at that they'd invite me. I was just a keen, passionate wannabe.
Really? Because I it could be wrong, but I feel like I remember you and Louis Hershoff at every Hosmo event. Like every Hosmo event, you and Louis were always doing something.
For those who don't know, Louis Hershoff is one of my very good friends, but also an extremely talented piano player who does an incredible amount of work for me. And has probably done even more if we're talking about Corona the last 2 years, because he's been working on all my tracks. We can talk about it later, but from Israel. So he's been because of Corona, we've all been in different places. It's actually worked to our advantage, where Louis and I, we'll talk about it now, Louis and I would go on Zoom, and we'd pop into different shuls and schools and events and different places. He'd be in Israel, I'd be in London, so 100% socially distant, and we'd be performing to so many people. And that couldn't happen because he's currently studying in Israel and I'm in London. So we haven't been able to work together so much, and he's been doing so much behind the scenes. So he's someone who I used to work with a lot, and we met in high school. But even before then, in primary school, I went to Menorah Foundation. And even in Friday assemblies there, I, with a group of other boys, would put together a choir and we do singing. So it was definitely a passion from a young age, but I never thought I'd be a singer. Never thought that's what I would do every single day. Never.
So at what stage did it become like a reality? Like, I see, did you went to uni? Or...
Yeah, so it was during uni. You hit it spot on. It was during uni, but the thing is, I'll tell you what happened. I was originally into like event production. I loved event production. I'm quite like Yekish. I've got that heritage. Very like organized in that sense. I tried to be a methodical thinker, and so I enjoyed that. I very much enjoyed it. So even during Hasmo secondary school, I was enjoyed putting on the events. Funny enough, your previous interview with Dan Saka, that's when I met Dan, because Dan approached me after I did some video for Hasmo, for the prospective parents we put together. So he approached me and he said, would you like to do a video for Rabbi Sachs? Wow. And so that's when I met Dan, and I worked with Dan, and Rabbi Sachs called me afterwards, and everything Dan said was like 100% spot on. Rabbi Sachs called me, even after I'd done a small video for his Salichas address. I remember Rabbi Sachs called me just to say thank you. Didn't know me, and he called me to say thank you, and I thought it was unbelievable. But that's what I thought I'd be going into, the event industry. In some way, I did go into that, but in a different way. And I just felt like you don't want to be a jack of all trades. You don't want to be doing the lighting and the sound and the event planning and then the singing. You've got to stick to one thing and become really, really good at it.
Yeah.
And so no, so
So
it was
what?
during university I sold everything. I got rid of it all. I didn't want to be tempted back into it because that's what made me money at that point. I wanted to focus on the passion and on the art and really start vocal training, which is what I did during university. And that's the
What were
point
you
where I
studying in
started.
university?
I was studying business at it was Cass Business School. It's now, I've just heard, changed its name to Bayes Business School in London. Let's not go there. If anyone wants to research why, they can research why. But
It's good
yeah,
active viewing there.
yeah. Yeah, so I did it in university.
Mm. And so what was that like? What was the idea behind it? Why the sudden change? Like you said it was your passion. You knew it was your passion at that point, but like when did you think it was going to be like a reality? What pushed you to that point?
I didn't know it would be a reality full time at that point, and I was doing it in tandem with business school. So I was traveling. I was doing different events. I'm studious, but I wasn't as studious as I should have been. I was doing a lot abroad. Even if I was going to Camp Hask or Camp Simcha to sing, do a concert for them in America, I would still be, in the evening after the concert, I'd literally log on at like 1 a.m. and look at the presentation that happened that day or submit whatever coursework I needed to do. But I'd do it in tandem, and I had very helpful friends at university who would record a lot of the lectures, and I just got through. And I thought it was the best time in life to do it because when I was in yeshiva, I actually made an active decision not to do anything music. So I was in Israel and I really didn't get involved in music. And I went to Shalavim, which is quite a musical institution. A lot of musical people went there. Very,
Why do you Dafka choose not to do music there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I wanted to break. I'd been working since I was like bar mitzvah. So for my bar mitzvah presents, all I wanted was a piano, a sound system, an amplifier. That's all I was asking for. And I would just go and do like Sheva Brochus and party, and I'd do anything. Like, I'd earn money from it as a kid, but it was a lot of work. And it trained me to get to where I got to, because you learn and learn and learn, and you learn in terms of music, you learn in terms of people, you learn in terms of relationships, you learn in terms of business. But I needed a break. I've been literally working since I was 13, where most people were doing like babysitting and working in a restaurant, and I was literally going out and schlepping and carrying and then performing and then taking it down and just doing it on my own, and it wasn't easy, and it was very late nights. Don't get me wrong, serving in a restaurant is not easy, tell me, and it can teach you an awful lot. But I found the responsibility of doing it on my own particularly hard, and I just wanted to break for a year, 2 years, whatever it was, just to focus on studying, just to focus on what was important.
You said you were doing it at your own. You didn't have a band at that point. You weren't.
No,
You had no one doing it with you. You were playing piano. You were singing. You were doing everything
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Wow,
Never again. Never do the piano bit again.
that's intense. That is intense.
Yeah, also, you know what I said to you before, you got to focus on what you're good at, and I did
Yeah.
it. I studied piano and I enjoyed it, but I focus on the singing, and I guess also that's what yeshiva gave me, the ability to also just learn, and that made a difference to the music. Doing concerts and doing parties is one thing, but doing weddings when it's extremely meaningful, not that the other things aren't meaningful, but when weddings are just that one up in meaningfulness, just knowing what you're singing and adding that extra depth to what you're singing, whether that's through my learning or just through shiurim or whatever, just makes a huge amount of difference and what I can bring to a couple as well. So definitely helped.
And so you write your own music, correct?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can't say I write it. I mean, I do write, but I also write with others. So when I was doing albums, which was during university, during my last year of university, I traveled to America and I did my album. The first one I had produced for me. I was produced. So I actually didn't understand what that meant at the time, but that means basically you have someone who's unbelievably talented, who he was, Avi Newmark, who I still speak to a lot. But he was running the show, running my life, running what I do, running what I sung, working with me. Don't get me wrong, working with me, but he has an incredible, I would say but an incredible ear for music. and an incredible taste, and so I learned a huge amount from him. But yeah, so I'd spend that in America, but then later on when I did the second album, I actually went to America just for a week, not to record, not to do anything, but just to meet with composers and just sit down with them for hours and hours and hours and just write. I'd go there with ideas and we just write, and that's how the whole second album came along.
Really? What was your inspiration for like when you were writing them? Like you were asking the composers to like help you that, or you came in with your own like inspiration and aspirations for what you were going to do?
Yeah, so most of the time I came up with what I would call the concept, so that the sort of the framework around the song. I worked with multiple composers. There's some of them that you'll know, some of them that you won't know, but like even if you say Baruch Levine, who's quite a well-known composer and singer in his own right, and I sat with him for hours, and he was so hospitable and kind and patient, and we just went through an enormous amount of I had a file, I've got it somewhere in my office, just like literally thick, of concepts and ideas that I was writing on the plane, and we just went through it and developed it, and he really he helped add further depth to it. But you know, the concept we were working on with him, we never ended up going ahead with, and you know, you never know, one day maybe I will pick it up. But it these meetings aren't just good for me, it's also good for whoever I'm with. It's like a chavrasa. It's like a chavrasa, and it just benefits each of us, and we take it in our own direction, or we take it together. I worked with Yitzi Waldner, who's also very well known. Well, his songs are even more so well known. They carry throughout the world, and he writes a lot of songs for literally every single artist. And I can give you some. I'm thinking, you're probably thinking which songs. Even if you go to like all the so all the very, very well-known songs he has composed.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not going to list them all off because I'll be here all day and you'll be here all day. But and I sat with him and I said to him, I really like this story called Paid in Full. It's one of my songs on the album. And it was really to do with Rosh Hashanah and about Hashem's father's view on their child, and it's like a whole story. And I said, I love this story, I want to turn it into a song. And we just worked. It was the last day of my trip, and it just came in 2 minutes, literally.
Wow,
it was unbelievable. Yeah.
And they who put you in touch with them? Because like it is often hard to get in touch with these people because everyone has their own things to do. Like when you're coming in, you are fairly new. Like at that point when you said you are still just in university, just releasing your first album.
No, absolutely. It's 100% true, and everyone thinks it's very, not everyone. One may think that it's very easy to put together an album. This day and age, you got a microphone. You know, you may be doing it. You got a nice microphone there. You got your green screen. You can do music videos as well. It's not, and I realized it's a real performance. It's a real task to do, and that's why I say I learned a lot from Avi. Was my producer from the first album. It was unbelievable to watch him because you know he's so professional, but so you know you got the professionals and the businessmen, but he was also musical, and so he really was able to produce that album that I really wanted. But he was the one who got me started, I'd say. And then after that, by the second album though, I mean, I was able to just phone up the composers that ended up working on it, and it was fairly simple to arrange to meet. It's less simple coming up with the songs, but it was fairly simple. Yeah, the connections were genuine. So I mean, I speak to them the whole time, a lot of them, and wonderful people, very talented.
So I want to segue now just into more of your life experiences, some of the different things that's like you've been through in your time, and like I want to know firstly as well, like how they affected your music, how they affected like you, and like do still to this day are all of these things like inherent in your music, and like
I think subconsciously anyone's life experience will come out in music. It has to come out somewhere. You know, it's how we express ourselves. You know, music is that universal language. You don't have to speak English, you don't have to speak Hebrew, you understand music. In saying that, yeah, definitely life experiences, memories is what builds a person. I'd say this even to any couple who I'm meeting with, which is, by the way, the best part of my job is meeting the couples before the wedding. But it's like
Well, what's that meeting like
it's the
before?
best. It's so much fun. Because it is like meeting friends. You've
Yeah.
got two people getting married, and I'm going to sing them down. So I very much view it as like it's not my concert, it's someone's wedding. And so I've got to really get into their mind or into their vibe so that I can deliver something for me that expresses them. Because I always say that a wedding is a wedding. Every wedding is the same. You've got like a caterer, you've got a florist, you've got music, you've got a hall. What's the difference? The difference is, and it's a huge difference, it's the couple. So the couple add their own taste on everything. They choose the color scheme, they choose the hall, they choose the singer, they choose the music, and they even as far as saying they choose the table plan, who sits next to who, to create that amazing, friendly, fun vibe atmosphere, which is what everyone wants. So the couple have such an enormous great power to do amazing things. So that's why I always say, at these weddings, the meeting's so important, because I get to know them, I get to know what their flavor is, what they want, and then I can deliver what they want if I sort of understand their friends, family, and their vibe. And understand their story, which is like what you're trying to understand from me, is to try and see what makes them think that way, what makes them do this. And my dad is what you're asking is my dad did pass away when I was 1, so that definitely affected me. How much it affected me, I still don't really know, because it's a bit of a tough one, because I'm being brutally like honest with you, which I can't say I speak so openly about in general, but what's it between friends, no one. But I often think, like, I lost my dad when I was 1. Is it better to lose your dad when you're younger and you didn't know anything different, or lose your dad when you're older and at least you had that time to know him, but then you suffer more? And I haven't quite got the answer, and I don't think I ever will. It just sort of makes it worse, because I also, as you're aware, I lost my son as well. So the sad thing about that, and everyone's human, so I very much have these thoughts, is that I lost my son. He was at 5 weeks, he was a twin. So I see my other son who survived him, and he's doing brilliantly, and he's hopefully sleeping upstairs. And he, I see him grow and thrive and catch up and do really, really well, because he was born out prematurely. And I start thinking, I feel like the feeling inside me gets worse as gets older, because I think, oh, I'm really missing out, So it's really hard to balance the feelings there, and we can talk about that. But I definitely think all these experiences, and I've had others, there's been other things going on. Like everyone, we've all got our sorrows, we've all got our package, and whether people see it or they don't see it, everyone's got something. And I guess you do put that into music. In many of my songs, even in the album, I did Hamalach, I dedicated to my dad and my family, because family is very important. Because growing up, I didn't have a dad. I have an amazing mother, and family, though, became key. Like cousins are like brothers, because we all became one. A bit like your family, you also, all the Benaroshes and the Marriotts. I know that all of them are very.
He's holding in the mashrocha. It's good.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Mark Purcell posts it the whole time. So, a very good friend of mine.
Mark Purcell is letting everyone know.
He's probably at Tish right now eating dinner. I'll see it soon. I'll see the photos.
Honestly, we should get him on. We should get him on here. We'll have a guest experience.
100%. I'll definitely be watching that. But yeah, I guess it does. Everyone's got their experiences in life, and yeah, it just you put that into whatever you do. And I think that comes into music, that can come into business. It can be just dealing with people honestly and sincerely, being more sympathetic, really trying to understand. It's very hard to understand what someone's going through when you haven't been there. It's very hard. So you can pretend as much as you want, but it is hard to do. So it's just about trying to open up and do as much as you can for others. I guess that's what I learned.
How, like you say, you put it into your music, like you gave Hamalach as an example for Avidan. Like, how did you, like, I know you've got Avidan's mission as well. So
Yeah.
like, what was the idea behind setting that up?
Yeah, so Abidjan's mission
Do you want to
was
give context to Avidan's mission for those who don't know?
yeah. So I'll start really at the beginning. Is Abidjan was my son who was nifta. So he we my wife gave birth to twins at 28 weeks, which is very very early,
Very
right?
premature.
So 40 weeks is full term. 28 was when she gave birth, and they were identical twins, and unbelievable treatment here, like unbelievable. And that's sort of the point, is we were thrown into a world we had not a clue about, not a clue. Everyone thinks, you get pregnant, you have a baby, that's the end of it. Yeah, very cute. But every aspect of what I've just said can be extremely difficult and not straightforward for many people, and it's a lot more common than we realize. And it's a very sensitive topic as well, and so a lot of people don't talk about it, and they don't talk about various elements of it. And so because of that, everyone thinks it's going to be fairy tale, and often it is, and that's great, that's fantastic. But when it isn't, it's really important to know that there's going to be someone out there to help, right? There's going to be somewhere that you can speak to someone you can speak to confidentially or discreetly, or just get a second opinion, or just to get a bit of knowledge, because knowledge is really key. And it's not really spoken about. So we didn't want to set up a totally new charity. We don't want to start opening tzedakahs here and there, but we joined with Camp Simcha. So Camp Simcha already do some many amazing things, and they've got the great infrastructure, and we felt like it really complemented what they already do. And so we started Avidan's mission, which is a part of Camp Simcha, and they basically deal with anything with sick, unwell children, babies, particularly babies, neonatal, premature, stillborn, and that can be going from helping with medical second opinions, who to go to, who to speak to, but to very practical things like things people don't think of when you have a 28-week baby. People, they don't sell in the shops clothes to fit them, or nappies. The nappies that we were putting on the kids were smaller than my hand. So
Really?
they don't sell them in normal shops, and so Camp Simcha help you, and the hospitals throw you, they're very busy, these hospitals, and they throw you into it. So they really, Abilal's mission is there to hold the hand along the whole way, and thankfully we hold a lot of hands along the way. And in helping, I said practical, even something like milk. Milk is very very important. It's the only food that these babies can eat, drink a mother's milk. And so even just having freezers delivered and milk delivery, if someone's had a C-section, they can't be running to the hospital, or when their children are in incubators or up and down the floors or whatever. And it's just having people to help milk deliveries if the mother's at home, depending on whatever's going on. Each case is case by case. That was a very poorly worded sentence, but each scenario is very much case by case. And but that's the idea of what we do. And I did a song for that, which I was thinking, if I would have done that song now, it would have been very different, but then it was extremely raw. So for me, it was very powerful.
What would you have done differently than that song? Can we get a little rendition of it?
Not how I sung it. I just think we evolve over time. And my son's now 3, so this was 3 years ago. And I just think I've changed. Like, that was my first child. I didn't know what it was like to be a parent at that point. It's very nice calling someone dad, but to be a real dad, or the real, it's very easy to have a father, but to have a real dad is a different thing. And bear in mind, I didn't grow up with one. I had a stepdad who I don't really consider stepdad. He's basically my dad. But talking openly, I'm saying I didn't have my dad, right? Even though I really have to say, and I mean it, he is like my dad, but I didn't have that. So I didn't, and he was very much my friend. So I didn't know what, a dad, what's discipline like, what would the fun side be like. I didn't know anything. So I'm still navigating. My son's only 3. I've got a long way to go, but I'm still navigating my way through that. But I didn't know really what that love was. And obviously, as my kids get older, and I've now got a baby, of 1, And she's adorable. But as they grow older, that love grows. So you don't think you can love anyone more than your wife, and then you don't think you can love anyone as much as your kids, and then it just grows. It just grows. But so my stance on life just generally changes the whole time, which is good. Everyone evolves over time. I'm sure when you look back at things you've done, you think, I would have done it differently now than you did
Yeah.
at the time. But yeah, so I guess with music, it was very raw at the time. Bearing in mind, I was still working, thankfully, during the time that so my son passed away after 5 weeks, and then my other son, Nathaniel, who is upstairs, remember,
Sleeping,
he
hopefully.
he was in hospital for half the year, basically. So we were going
I
in.
remember following this all on Facebook and just like, uh, I don't think anyone, like you were saying before, like no one can really experience what you're going through. No one can really understand, but you just like, there's no way to really comprehend what's going on because it's like it's someone else, but you're just like, there's so much pain that like everyone else is like feeling like for you guys, and just like I remember like talking about it and just be like, what can anyone even say to like get you through that
I have
time?
goosebumps just listening to you say that. I have
Yeah,
goosebumps because we'd read all the messages as well, like, and I don't think you can. We weren't able to express how grateful we were for some of those messages, even those small. I look at them often. I will go back to that period of my life, and I'll look back at the emails and the comments and it just it means so much. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. And I don't know. It was crazy. My wife, what she went through, like at that point, emotionally and physically, was absolutely immense, right? It was absolutely immense. And she was in hospital every single day. And I, thankfully, never mind how amazing it was financially to still be working, because I can imagine not working for months is not going to be easy. But I think emotionally, for me, for my head, it was an amazing bracha to still be able to work. And for anyone who was calling me during that time, still booking events with me, because some people would probably think, "Oh, I'll leave them alone. I'll book someone else." I'm not gonna. And I wanted to be booked. So at that time, I used to literally go. Sometime we were in town in hospital, and a lot of my weddings are in town, and I'd literally go to the wedding. Like, I'll give an example. The Landmark Hotel was down the road from hospital. I literally walk there in my suit, right, from hospital. I go see the kids, walk there in my suit, leave every bit of baggage and negativity at that door, and go in there and have the time of my life. Not for me. I mean, I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but have the time, make sure those friends and family, everyone there was celebrating the good things in life. And I remember doing it. I don't know how, because if I look back at it probably saved me. It probably actually saved me. It was unbelievable to be able to do, and then walk back into hospital feeling incredibly overdressed, going to see the kids in a three-piece suit, but still, it was an unbelievable time. It was an unbelievable time.
It just takes like the most incredible courage. And, like, do you mind? Like, I want to, because a big theme of this podcast is going into that like kesher with Hashem. Like, how how do you like relate to Hashem at that point? Like when there's so much pain going on there. Like, what was your, if you don't mind me asking, like, how did you connect with him at that point? Like, were you angry?
It
It was
wasn't.
pain. It was.
No, absolutely not. And you know what? I'm blessed that we both. So that's it. And the other thing with being married is firstly, we were newly married at that point. So we really hadn't been, maybe a year, maybe we'd be married. Well, hopefully, but we'd be married literally just under or just over. I'm not working it out. We don't have we've got better things to do.
You're gonna
But
get in trouble for not knowing the
yeah.
dates.
I get very mixed up. But no, so we hadn't been married that long. And when you've got two people newly married, you also want to make sure you're aligning on the same sort of hashkafa. And it's very much easier said than done. Very much easier said than done. But we were very much aligned. We very much thought the same. There was no anger. There was no anger. It was more about how do we deal with it? How do we do everything in a Jewish way? Gabriella and I, especially Gabriella, my wife, has always been very particular on everything in life has its Jewish tongue. It's got its Jewish flavor. So you know, everything can be conducted in that way. But Selam Elokim, you know, in the way that Hashem would have wanted us to do it, we were very much, you know, people were davening. We were hearing those tefillahs. Sometimes we saw those tefillahs. Sometimes we would be in hospital where they'd be telling us the worst news, and suddenly they'd come in and say, you know, after like Tehillim, with loads of people had joined to say Tehillim, and they'd be like, you know, progress. They would be on the up. Things would be amazing, and we lived in real time. Every minute things were changing, and we tried our best as well at the time to speak openly to everyone. You know, post it on social media, because life is not always, you know, so, you know, brilliant, you know, like life is not always just roses, you know, and sometimes with the no, yeah, but with Instagram and stuff, it becomes, and that was one of my songs later on in the second album. But you know, and actually the album was finished before I had the kids. So, but it was whilst Gabriella was pregnant, and you know, we knew there may be a problem. You know, in terms of
that was, so you guys knew beforehand that it was going to be premature.
No. So isn't just with twins, it's always a little bit premature, but not 28 weeks. So often, you know, that's twins. Often my brothers are twins. My eldest brothers are twins. So they were also premature, but not that sort of premature. Generally, the pregnancy was fine. So we weren't expecting what happened to happen. But you know, still twins are definitely more. You know, you go for more follow-up appointments and all of that, just because it's just more risky than a single birth. But even during that time, so that time I was already doing the album, and I already saw that we knew that we were having twins. No one else knew, and I just felt like, you know, we would sit there discussing it in a coffee place, and everyone was around us watching, and no one had any idea, because that's what happens behind closed doors. And to me, you know, whilst we can, you know, publicize all the great simchas and events and, you know, achievements and everything that we're so privileged to be blessed with, that Hashem has allowed each of us to experience. So too, I think it's really important, you know, you cry out when things go wrong to Hashem. You should cry out when good things happen, you know, and say thank you to Hashem. But likewise as well, you should be open that, you know, life has its negative moments, negative, less nice moments, let's say, and it's just how you navigate your way through them. And so Gabrielle and I were very much aligned. There was, I'm honestly will tell you, there was no anger. We couldn't have been more focused on doing the right thing and davening. And ultimately, you know, he didn't test. He gives us tests we can pass, right? And we had another beautiful son who was fighting his way through, and that was our attention at that point. You know, we cut Shiva short because he was in hospital. He actually, when Avidan was nifta, he regressed backwards in terms of progress, and he went back into intensive care. So we did Shiva for 3 days, but then we literally just had to get back to hospital and just sit with him and remember all that's good, you know, all the positive things, and that's what we wanted to focus on.
And like, honestly, having Avidan's mission there as well, it solidifies, like, it's such a hard time in your life, and it's doing such a beautiful thing now as well, just to be able to help everyone else with all of that, who, like, unfortunately having to go through similar issues. Like, it really, really is incredible to be able to see that, like, fruits come off from it. Like, as hard as it is sometimes to say, it's like comes with over, like, everything does happen for its own reason. It happens for the best. And like, it's just honestly, like, I'm like taken aback, because like it's such an incredible view to have on it, like at such a hard time, and like takes such care. I don't think I would, like, Bezrat Hashem, everything should always go well, but like when you're tested like that, that's just honestly incredible. Like,
but don't get me wrong, it is hard. Like, there's definitely low moments. I said this before, but you know, even seeing my son now, you sort of think, and you know, people do make comments as well. So it's just, but I think it's being comforted by the fact that, you know, as what you said, there's a greater plan, and sometimes we get to see it, and then things, oh yeah, that's why that happened, or yeah, it actually worked out for the best. So sometimes we think that and we see it, and that's a bracha in itself. And then sometimes we can't see it, but we've just got to trust, you know, that there is a master plan. And we've always said that with Avidan's mission. You know, it's not something I never spoken about either before, but the fact that after our son passed away, we still have to do a bris. So they do the bris, and one of the people in the room says to me, you know, what name we had to name him, and he wasn't named at that point. No one knew. The only time that we announced it, the first time we announced his name was at a Levaya. So think about how absolutely crazy that is. Even thinking about it now, it's mad. And he said to me, you know, I said what we had chosen for him, and he said, no, choose another name, choose something a little bit, you know, like a standard name, because you may want to use that on another child. And I said, no, this is Avidan Yehuda. This is Avidan Yehuda, and this is what we're gonna do Avidan's mission, which we didn't know at the point, but this is what we want to do something good out of it. And this was our son, and we want to make something positive out of something that is not so positive. I remember saying at the time, and Gabriella looking at me like 100%, seriously, like 100%. And this is we want to make something good out of something less good. We got to, because we feel like that's our like purpose. If we can help one person, it's worth it. And we helped well more than one. And it's not me, it's the team at Avidan's mission in Camp Simcha, Gabriella, who's an unbelievable force within it. And it's just about, you know, that's what it's about, is bringing some goodness from it.
Yeah, that's truly incredible, right? As much as like this is like a very, like we could honestly, we could go on this for the next like 2 hours, because just it's the most incredible topic. But we're gonna segue a little bit out of this. Just going, yeah, that wasn't like, I felt like that was like almost like a therapy session. Like you just gotta, everything
100%.
like comes out, just like it feels like it's very intense. Like a lot of emotions like clearly went on through that time, and like it shows with all of like your music as well. Like I feel like I was just listening to Am Yisrael Chai, which is just like, before I was running up the stairs, I had Am Yisrael Chai. Like you feel emotion in like all that you're doing, and like I really like, I'll be honest, like I only started like really listening to Jewish music like properly in like Shana Bet or something. Like I like really started to listen to it, and like I was like, yeah, I know Eitan Freilich. Oh, like I started listening to like his songs properly, and like it became like a very, like I listened to your stuff like almost every single day. It's like it's very weird to just like speak to you like without hearing your like your voice, like you're singing, like the emotion, like that's what I find very weird, because like I feel your emotions when I'm singing, so like I feel instantly already connected to you. But like it must be very hard, because like a lot of people probably come up to you and like instantly, because they're listening to your music, so they feel like they know you, they are like, so
That
be,
means I've done what I wanted to do right, because and it will speak to you in your own way. So
yeah.
it means and that's what I try to do every time I sing, whether that's a concert or a wedding. It's got to speak to the people who are listening, and then make them either want to dance or want to sing, or want to just feel something more than what they're feeling, if you understand what I mean. So I'm happy to hear that. That's why.
It's it's always good. So the next thing I want to know, like, where do you see yourself taking? Because you've released a couple of albums now. What's the next plan? What's
Well,
the
a lot of things changed. So the last 2 years, it did change. You know, there were supposed to be concerts, and for the last album, that have just been delayed and delayed and delayed. Um, it will eventually do another album, 100%. Do another album. Even just the album is great, because it means you can showcase, you know, all different styles, all different songs, all different feelings, as we've been talking about. But it's also great even professionally. It just puts you, it's a different level. It puts you under the microscope in the studio. You hear every single fault, you hear every single niggle. You can become the biggest perfectionist you want to be in that studio. But it really helps. It really helps perfect that the vocal abilities. It really helps you learn a bit more about yourself, I find, express different things, change different ways of doing things. And it's a great team effort, because you're in a room with a lot of creative people. I just feel like it's like therapy every single, that's what you just said, but it's like therapy every single day in a very, very deep way. It's like doing real deep thinking. But I guess we will do another album. I would have liked to do another music video, that was also planned. So there's a lot of things in the pipeline. I just don't know when it's going to be. if I'm honest with you. At the moment, I'm loving back being at weddings, absolutely loving it. But very interesting though what you've been saying, like the whole time, and it does lead back into what I'm saying now for the weddings, because I was just thinking about it from yesterday, that each moment in life, like, you got two people coming together, so that's like years and years of moments coming together, aligning their way, and then hopefully forming, that couple's journey forward. But I'd say that it's just really important in life to soak in the atmosphere, soak up that atmosphere. So whether you are talking in, like you're saying, talking about a happy moment at a wedding, or like what I was saying before, with the sad moments, with losing. Hopefully, no one has to do that, but like losing a son, or having a father who died when I was young, or any bad thing or any good thing, whatever it is soak it up. So I know that sounds really weird and whatever, but like even when we were burying our son, like I said to Gabriella, and Gabriella said to me, like, just stop. Let's remember the friends, the family, the people who have come to like be with us. And I remember, I can picture it now in my head, their faces, and I was holding our son, and just like the feeling at our wedding. We were sitting down on our table, the top table, whatever it was, in the middle. It wasn't really the top, in the middle. And I can remember just looking around, thinking, wow, look at all these people. It's those connections that really make us, like, that's what makes life amazing. It's not the material objects. And I don't say that all of that. I'm saying that, like, let's be honest with ourselves, right? This is not going to make it with us, to the next world, but the connections and the things we do with those connections are. And I just think at each point in life, whether it's a sad moment, a good moment, and I always say this to the couples that I'm working with, just soak it up, even to the point where, I'm just giving an example. Yesterday's chuppah, I said to the couple, let's do a song, just a random song in the middle of the chuppah. Yeah, give you 2 minutes to daven and soak up the atmosphere without walking down or walking around or concentrating on not falling over, and just like not being stressed or anxious or whatever. Just daven and just soak up the atmosphere. And we do a beautiful song at the chuppah, and they soak up the atmosphere. And that's what it's about, in my opinion. It's just like, everyone listening, and you as well, like me, I need to remind myself, is just soak up every single experience we're given, and remember it, because that's what builds us as people. And I say that with COVID is nasty. It is it's been, I've lost people dear and close, I really have. And I've seen people suffer, whether that's suffering from the illness or the secondary effects. It could even be Camp Kef, who I managed to visit over the summer, kids who weren't able to do, I mean, Camp Kef are unbelievable, so they managed to make it work. But just it's so difficult for families. Can be so difficult for families, especially if you've got a family with a special needs kid, or, I mean, there's so many different scenarios it can be really hard for. And it's just about taking that COVID, like that, those bad experiences, remembering it, appreciating the world we live in now, and hopefully soon I will be doing like an album or a music video or something, but it will take into account all those memories.
Yeah, because it really COVID has shaped everyone's life. People are for sure coming out of it. Different people are like, I always say, like, I feel very bad for the younger generation, like the generation now that is growing up, that COVID is a lot of their childhood. Oh yeah, all of my 21 years of age. I'm saying, like, it really is like that. It's 2 years is a key part of, like, especially 10, 11 years old, even like 15, 16 years old. It's very much shapes who you are as like a child, and who you're going to grow into. And like, it was a hard time being stuck inside. Like, I remember that first lockdown, like, I personally, I loved it. I thought it was great. Like, I'm naturally an introvert, so I love just being not having to talk to anyone, but like it's detrimental for so many people, because you have no social life anymore. And like,
and it can be really dangerous. It can be really dangerous. Like, I'll tell you something else in the industry. Still interested after all this Corona talk. But even the musicians, what we were doing is, so firstly, sometimes we were able to do weddings for 15 people, for 30 people, and they were lovely. Don't get me wrong, they were special, they were lovely, and I mean that sincerely. But they were hard. They were hard. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The atmosphere wasn't the same. It was special because zero doing for nothing, or doing for 15 or for 30 is obviously better for 15 or for 30, because at least you're having a wedding. But they were hard. They were hard. They're not the same feedback that you get doing a Zoom without hearing the feedback. Just shows how unbelievable that feedback is. And we wouldn't have appreciated those small things if not for COVID. But I will also say that it was hard for the musicians. It was hard for the sound engineers. It was hard for anyone in the events industry, I think. And I don't speak on behalf of everyone, but that there was that when you had like one simcha after a year and a half of nothing, relatively speaking, nothing, there was a loss of energy, a loss of that motivation. It was actually hard to put on a suit. It was hard to get out because we all got so used to being inside, being introvert, being literally like stuck in our own shadow. And it was an unbelievable feeling properly up on the 19th of July, I think it was, when we were back to normal. It was unbelievably special. Now, at the beginning, people but they were hesitant to like party and enjoy because we'd all become acclimatized to the last 2 years or so. And so it was a slow progress, but I really think, as you said, we're now post COVID, and people are, not everyone, but and we've got to be respectful, but we're nearly back there, and hopefully we'll be doing concerts.
Yeah, so is that the plan, that you want to go into concerts? You want
Absolutely. I really want to do my concerts, but it's got to be done safe. And like I can see now there's concerts coming up, and people are like, is this really the time for so many people to be getting together? So it's a hard hybrid, and maybe we do actually a hybrid and have some online and some live, and it's just a matter of working it out. But right now I'm just going to focus on doing things that I've missed out for the last year or so, and do as many weddings, because it's absolutely jam-packed. Like even for us to secure a date has been a bit of a problem,
really,
like just to find the time.
yeah. Oh,
so
I can tell you. I had you because you're in Manchester yesterday. Like,
yeah.
constantly traveling back and forth. That must be hard as well. Just having
Traveling,
constantly, and like wedding, like you must be constantly exhausted. Like,
yeah, but there's something we take into account, which again people won't realize, is like when I have a bookings manager, and when we're scheduling everything, it's really important that we don't overdo it, because I'm human and I've got a body, and if my body's telling me shut down, I'm not letting anyone down. I will not let people down. And so we only take on the risk that we can. So I won't do more than 4 events in a go without having a break. I'm not gonna, I want to put my all into every event, the first event, the second, the third, and the fourth, my all. And I'm able to do that because I've been trained and vocally, and I know how to manage myself, and recover as well. There's a lot of steaming involved. There's a lot of technique, but the point is that I've got to give it all to each and every event, whatever it is. And so there's that risk factor that's taken into account, which you wouldn't really think about.
yeah, and we just see it as, this is a performance. This is what we get. I was there, no more to it. But
no, if there was a 5th event as an example, I would say no, because I wouldn't want to let anyone down.
Yeah. So it's funny you were talking about doing the concerts, and like now whether or not people are in it, because I just saw Yishai Ribbo. He's gone to the O2. He's gone to the O2 now. Like, that's incredible. Like, he's honestly, he's definitely up. Like, I love his stuff. Like, and like he's done an incredible thing. He's like been Makari for so many people just by the Israeli culture love him, and like even the people who are just Datilumi, like who aren't affiliated.
That's the thing. He's done the secular Israeli, but then also the Jewish.
Yeah.
So
and you got Hasidic guys like buffing their heads to it, and you got like a complete other end of the spectrum. Like everyone really like enjoys his stuff. Like,
but he's like literally soul stirring. So he'll take a song like Ochila Lokel, read. I mean, it's an old song, and it has an unbelievable amount of meaning. And he'll redo it just to add that other new depth to it, and it's unbelievable what he can do.
So I was going to. It segues me to my next point. Are there people that you want to work with in the future on new albums? Do you want to?
I get asked every once in a while to do. No, I get asked to feature on other people's albums. It has happened, especially actually recently. And even in concert, there's been people, Avram Fried, Mordechai Shapiro. I've sung with them. We've done concerts. Barry Weber. I've actually had the opportunity of singing with them and meeting with them, and sitting like with you in the green room before a concert. But getting to hear Avram Fried warm up is is unbelievable. And these are like the people that I grew up listening to. For me, it's like it's the biggest like honor. Like honestly, to watch him, he runs around backstage, literally warming up. You know, most people do like exercises with the voice. He's literally doing exercise. He's an unbelievable powerhouse. But like learning from them seriously and speaking to them and getting to know them and speak to them afterwards. Even I just literally just spoke to Mordechai Shapiro, I think like last week. Like wow. We were speaking, and he brought out an amazing music video, and it's fantastic learning from them and seeing them. So are there other people I would want to 100% if the opportunity came along and it was good, and then bring it on.
I want to see Nissan Black featuring on your next album.
I haven't had that one yet, but you never know. It's funny you say that because I'm Israel Chai, which you referenced before. That was originally we had a draft version done by not Nissan Black but another rapper, added his own piece to it, and we never went ahead with it. There's a lot of those things like
I want to see. You got to do like a blooper album or just like
exactly. Well, I did it over lockdown. I did like on YouTube. There's some deconstruction videos which show how the song was done. You can have a look on YouTube afterwards, and it literally it shows how the song was originally formed and then how it was changed and how it was moved around. I'm sure there is a version out there somewhere with a rapper in the middle, but we never greenlit it. Like it never went ahead.
I'm very intrigued to see how we're going to get some inside. We'll put it at the back of this,
Ask Avi if he's got any comment. Not you, Avi, but I'll ask Avi if he's got anything spare.
All right, I think this was intense. I enjoyed this a lot. I really enjoyed this a lot. Like honestly,
people wanting more. So
well, hopefully we'll get more people listening. Is there anything that you want to like promote before we finish off? We've talked about Avidan's mission a lot. Is there a way that they can donate to it? Like it's done through Camp Simcha?
Yeah, literally, it's really sweet of you. You can go on Camp Simcha's website, campsimchauk.org, I think, but Camp Simcha UK.
I'll put the link in the I'll put in Avidan's missions link.
Yeah, avidansmission.com. You can go to avidansmission.com and it links there. And you can donate to. It's honestly, I see it the whole time. I see it, and if I could have had it different myself, I would, maybe myself, I would have been I'd be maybe a different person. But I think it's an unbelievable thing to come out of it. And just everyone, if you can donate, great. But I think, as we were talking about before, just be real, enjoy all the little things in life that we don't even think about, and just soak up the atmosphere.
That's a beautiful message to end off. Right. Thank you so much, Eitan. It's been truly amazing. Wow. That was intense, guys. I'll be honest, that was intense. I'm so thankful it was that intense because Eitan really opened up to us all. And like, just a huge thank you to Eitan for coming to join us and opening up, because like to share those experiences. And like, I really like, the reason I say it's intense is because I really felt that like when he was talking, I was captivated, like to know all these struggles he went through and to come out with such koyach, and he's giving to the world, like through all the pain that he went through, he's still continuing to give to the world, still being besameach. Like it was truly like, that was definitely one of the most inspiring podcasts I've done so far. Like I really, like I'm so thankful to Eitan, and obviously please donate to Camp Simcha, follow Avidan's mission. Like it's such an important cause, and like Bezrat Hashem, no one should have to go through it, but for those who are going through it, this is just such an incredible thing to be donating for. I'm going to leave all of the links to Eitan's music down below, so please feel free to check him out. And thank you for listening. This was truly an incredible episode. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did.